Welcome to the Mycitizenagency channel. If you're considering immigration programs that require proof of ancestry, it's important to understand one thing. You can't just claim your ancestry, you have to prove it properly. This is precisely where many people run into difficulties. It seems that if there were indeed relatives of the required origin in the family, the issue is almost resolved. But in practice, this is not enough. It is not family history alone that matters, but the documents, their content, and how they form a coherent narrative. In this video, we'll break down exactly what counts as proof of ancestry, which details are particularly important, why even good documents don't always yield the desired result on the first try, and what you should pay attention to if you're considering, for example, Romania or Slovenia as a destination for your immigration process. Proving ancestry isn't just about showing a single old document belonging to a relative. It means confirming an entire chain, from your ancestor to you. In other words, government agencies evaluate not only the existence of an archival record, but also the logical connection between generations. If you have a document from your great-grandfather or great-grandmother, that is not enough. You need to show exactly how you are connected to that person through parents, grandparents, birth certificates, marriage certificates, name change records, and other supporting documents. That is precisely why proving ancestry is always a matter of working not with a single document, but with an entire system of documents. Very often people say, we always knew that our family had European roots. Sometimes such stories are passed down from generation to generation and are accepted within the family as an obvious fact that no one questions. But for an official procedure, this is not enough. It is important to understand that family memory and legal confirmation are not the same thing. Oral history can indeed be a good starting point. It helps recall surnames, places of residence, approximate dates, names of relatives, and the general direction of the search. But on its own, it does not replace archival confirmation. Government agencies do not make decisions based on memories, even if they are absolutely true and have been confirmed many times within the family. For them, only information reflected in official documents and verifiable is relevant. This may include civil registry records, archival extracts, certificates, references, birth records, data on place of birth, marriage, residence, and other official sources. That is precisely why the first important point is this. Ancestry is confirmed not by words, but by documents. Family history can suggest where to look, but the final decision is always based on documentary evidence. Depending on the situation, different documents may be relevant. Most often these include birth, marriage and death certificates, archival extracts, records from civil registry books, church records, old passports, military documents, questionnaires, registration cards, residence certificates, census records, personal files, and other official materials that allow you to trace family lines and important legal facts. But here it is especially important to understand one thing. A document's value is determined not by its age, but by its content. An old document in and of itself does not necessarily mean it will actually help confirm ancestry. What matters far more is exactly what information it contains and whether it can be used as evidence in your case. For example, in one situation, the key factor might be the ancestor's nationality. In another, it could be their place of birth or residence. In a third, it might be confirmation that the ancestor was present in a specific territory during a particular historical period. Sometimes it is not a single document that proves decisive, but a combination of several records that complement one another and allow you to construct a clear and logical chain of evidence. That is precisely why you cannot simply collect any old papers in the hope that something among them will be useful. Such an approach often leads only to a waste of time. It is much more important to understand from the very beginning exactly what information is relevant to your case, which documents can confirm it, and how they should work together within the overall chain of evidence. This is one of the most common mistakes. A person finds an old certificate belonging to a relative and assumes the matter is settled. But in practice, a single document almost never stands alone, even if it seems very strong at first glance. Let's say you have an archival record of the birth of an ancestor connected to Slovenia. Such a document can indeed be important and even form the basis of the entire case. But almost immediately the following question arises. How exactly do you prove that this person is your direct relative? Where are the documents that consistently link him to your grandmother or grandfather, then to your parent, and finally to you? It is precisely at this stage that many encounter difficulties. A single document found confirms the existence of an ancestor and may point to important facts, but by itself it does not yet prove your personal connection to them. For official consideration, what is needed is not a single piece of paper, but a continuous documentary chain in which each generation is confirmed separately. If even one link is missing, the entire chain becomes vulnerable. Then the authorities have a logical question. Can it be definitively established that this is specifically your family and not just a person with similar information? And the more such gaps there are, the weaker the entire case appears, even if the original document is valuable in and of itself. This is precisely why a strong case is built, not around a single document found, but around a complete chain of documentation. What matters is not only the fact that an archival record has been found, but also the ability to link it to you step by step without gaps or doubts. Let's consider a hypothetical example related to Slovenia. Suppose you know that your grandfather or great-grandfather was born in an area that is now part of Slovenia, or that your family has historical ties to this region. You find a birth record that lists the relevant town, date, and details of a relative. At first glance, it may seem that this is enough, because the main fact appears to have been found. But this is precisely when the most important questions arise. Does the surname match in all documents? Did it change later due to marriage, spelling adaptations, or translation peculiarities? Are there documents confirming the transition from this relative to the next generation? Does the spelling of the first name differ across sources? Can you accurately confirm the specific region and historical period that are truly relevant to your case? Additionally, it is important to consider that the same settlement might have been referred to differently in documents from different years, and a relative's personal details might have been recorded with discrepancies. And if these points are not checked in advance, even a good archival document can raise additional questions during review. Very often, the problem lies not in the absence of roots as such, but in the absence of a complete and convincing chain of evidence. A single document from Slovenia can indeed be a good start, but without the other links, it does not yield a complete result. To successfully prove your ancestry, it is important not just to find a record, but to demonstrate the entire chain of connection between that relative and you. This is one of the most critical issues. Old documents very often contain discrepancies, and this is by no means rare. Surnames could change after marriage. First names could be recorded in different linguistic variants, and in some records, errors could appear in a single letter, the year of birth, or even the name of a settlement. Such discrepancies are particularly common in documents that were issued in different periods, in different regions, and in different languages. Many people underestimate this problem and assume that no one will notice minor differences. But in practice, it is precisely these details that often trigger further scrutiny. For the reviewing authority, it is crucial to see not just a general similarity in the data, but a clear and verified identity of the person throughout the entire documentary chain. If your relative is listed in one form in one document and in another, this must be explained. If a woman's surname has changed, this must be confirmed by relevant documents. If dates of birth, places of birth, or the spelling of a name differ, it is important to understand in advance whether this can be substantiated with additional archival materials, certificates, or other supporting documents. The problem here is not only the discrepancy itself, but also the fact that without an explanation, it casts doubt on the entire lineage. That is precisely why such details cannot be ignored or left hoping that they will simply go unnoticed. People often try to compare their situation to someone else's. If it worked for my acquaintances, then it will work for me too. But this is a dangerous approach that often creates false expectations and prevents you from objectively assessing your own prospects. Even if cases seem similar on the surface, they can differ significantly in substance. One person has a complete, unbroken line of documents. For another, the relevant ancestor is closer in generation, meaning the connection is easier to prove. A third person has archival evidence that another applicant lacks. And for some, the procedure itself is based on one specific ground, whereas in a situation that seems similar at first glance, another person's case is based on an entirely different ground. This is precisely why you cannot rely solely on someone else's outcome. What worked in one case does not guarantee the same result in another. Sometimes the difference lies in just a single document, a single archival record, or the ability to prove the connection between generations without gaps or discrepancies. Therefore, you should not rely on general stories about how someone once handled a similar case, but on a precise analysis of your specific situation. Very often, useful information is not found in archives at the initial stage, but right in your home. Old certificates, letters, signed photographs, employment records, military ID cards, certificates, personal notes, and family documents. All of these can help establish a relative's exact name, date of birth, place of residence, family connections, or the town from which a full-scale archival search begins. Sometimes it is precisely these materials, which at first glance seem insignificant, that provide the key to further research and allow you to move from family assumptions to concrete, verifiable facts. It is also very important that personal documents often help clarify details without which an official request to the archives would be too vague. For example, the correct spelling of a surname, a full name, an approximate year of birth, place of registration, or even an indirect mention of the relevant region can significantly increase the chances of a successful search. Sometimes a single forgotten document is more useful than months of haphazard requests, because it is precisely this document that allows you to understand where to turn next, what exactly to request, and along which lines to build further confirmation of ancestry. The most common problem is a haphazard search. A person starts sending requests to various archives without figuring out which documents they already have, what exactly is missing, which data can already be considered reliable, and which still requires verification. As a result, time is wasted, formal replies arrive, and the case becomes no clearer. Moreover, chaotic actions often create the impression of active work, although in practice they do not bring one any closer to actually confirming one's ancestry. The correct approach looks different. First, everything already on hand is analyzed: family documents, certificates, old records, and any information about relatives. Then the weak point is identified, that is, the specific gap that prevents building a complete chain of evidence. And only after that is the search sequence established: which documents are needed first, which archives might contain them, how to bridge the gaps between generations, how to confirm disputed data, and how to explain possible discrepancies. This approach allows you to proceed not blindly, but systematically and with an understanding of the logic of the entire process. This is especially important if you want to prove your ancestry through a line connected to Slovenia or Romania, where much depends precisely on the accuracy, consistency, and internal coherence of the entire documentary record. In short, proving ancestry is always about the details. It is not enough to simply know your family history. It is not enough to find a single old record. It is not enough to rely on the words of relatives or someone else's experience. You need to gather precisely those documents that have legal significance. You need to connect the generations. You need to identify potential weaknesses in advance, discrepancies in first names, last names, dates, locations, or missing links in the lineage. And the sooner you approach this professionally, the lower the risk of wasting time. If you suspect you have roots in the EU, it is important not to base your conclusions on guesswork. It is much wiser to first conduct a thorough analysis of your documents and determine whether your ancestry can actually be confirmed in your case. If you already have family records, archival certificates, or even basic information about your relatives, these can be evaluated from a professional perspective to determine which steps will be most effective moving forward. Contact our specialists if you want to sort out your situation without wasting time and understand how to properly chart a path toward confirming your ancestry. Submit a request for a free consultation via the link in the description. We will review your situation, create your personalized immigration plan, and prepare a complete set of documents for successfully obtaining citizenship in one of the EU countries. We work on a one-on-one basis, taking into account your goals, your lifestyle, and your specific situation. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in this topic, subscribe to the channel and feel free to ask questions in the comments. We regularly publish program reviews, answer frequently asked questions, and share important news about immigration law and life in the EU. Your journey to Europe begins with the first step. Mycitizenagency is here for you every step of the way.